So I just want to remind everybody, please silence your cell phones so they don't go off during our presentations. And I want to make sure Lieutenant Roman is going to give just a brief summary of what's going on here in Sun Lakes. And I want to make sure that when we have questions and answers, you make sure that you wait for the microphone. Shannon will be doing one side and I'll be doing the other. You must speak into the microphone, otherwise they won't hear you on Channel 97. So make sure you wait and we'll take questions after the presentations. So Lieutenant Roman, if you want to come up, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walter. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Sun Lakes. My name is Lieutenant Roman. I'm filling in for our director, Michael Romero. He's feeling a little under the weather today, so I'll be doing his report. The third quarter of 2025 has presented our community with a unique set of challenges, primarily centered around a concerning increase in vehicle-related incidents. While the overall crime rate within Sun Lakes Country Club remains low, these specific issues demand our attention and demand a proactive response. Our records indicate a notable uptick in minor and major vehicle accidents within and around the community, particularly in and around the main clubhouse parking lot, Country Club Drive, and the intersection between Gate 3s and 4, as well as outside of Gate 5. While most of these incidents are mostly minor fender benders, they are indicative of a growing need for enhanced traffic control and increased resident awareness. Contributing factors appear to be distracted/intoxicated driving, an increase in vehicle traffic during peak hours, and a general lack of situational awareness while driving that leads to an avoidable accident. In tandem with the rise in vehicle accidents, we have also received multiple reports of near misses involving pedestrians both within our community and at our vehicle gate entrances. The recent increase in vehicle traffic has highlighted the need for renewed focus on drivers yielding to those on foot. Please refrain from walking in and out of the vehicle gates. Please use the pedestrian gates when walking into and out of the community. Administration can help you if you need a key. We are fortunate that no serious injuries have been reported, but this is a trend that we cannot allow to continue. Finally, a more unsettling trend has emerged, a rise in reports of residents being harassed in the clubhouse parking lot, specifically during the popular weekly bingo nights. These incidents range from verbal altercations to individuals' vehicles being tampered with. In response, we have implemented a new security protocol. Our patrol schedule has been adjusted to ensure a dedicated security presence is stationed at the clubhouse parking lot for the duration of every bingo event. Our officers are instructed to maintain high visibility and to intervene promptly in any situation that appears to be escalating. Our goal is to ensure that Sun Lakes Country Club remains a safe and peaceful environment for all of its residents and guests. Please do not hesitate to reach out to our department. Thank you.
Okay, so our next presenter is going to be Guillermo from the San Gregorio Memorial Hospital. You can either use this one or...
Yeah, can I take it off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello. I gotta come to the bingo nights, apparently. I know, I'm gonna have to park my car outside. Anyways, hi, does anybody remember me by any chance? One. Yeah, okay. Well, my name is Guillermo. I'm here representing the hospital that you guys have next door, San Gregorio. I came here about 1.5 years ago, and that's when we were taking the major project to achieve primary center stroke status, okay? So now I'm coming here as a way to give you guys a big update because this is benefiting the community in a big way. So, first, what's a stroke? And today is gonna be focused on neurology. We have a second guest who's gonna expand in that topic and talk about other things. But a stroke is a medical emergency. Your brain is dying, and it could happen in 2 ways. We could have a little clot that blocks the blood flow, and then your brain begins to lose oxygen. And you can have a rupture of the little blood vessel, the artery, which then leads to a hemorrhage. Now, 80% of the strokes are the little clot kind, okay? And that could happen spontaneously. It could happen also sequentially, maybe people get like something called a TIA, where they get symptoms, but then they resolve. But then eventually it could lead to an actual stroke. 80% of them are that kind, but that's important to know because those are the ones that we can help you guys with immediately, okay? The other kind, those are much harder to deal with because you have to think there's gonna be blood going into the brain, and how do you get that blood out? You're gonna have to open up the skull, right? So those are higher level of care, but again, the majority of strokes are a little clot just in the artery system, prevents the blood flow, and then the brain begins to die, okay? So what's a primary stroke center? A primary stroke center is a way for a hospital to manage stroke patients efficiently, quickly, and standardize the protocol for everybody that comes, okay? How do we do that? Well, we have to literally bring the whole hospital and coordinate physicians, nurses, technicians, the executive team. We have to have commitment from the CEO saying you're gonna have to support all of these things. We had to purchase 2 brand new CT scanners. We had to get an MRI trailer. We had to standardize order sets, educate the physicians, get a neurology, I can go on. And that took about 2 years to build that up. And when I came here, we were about in that stage. We had achieved certification by the Joint Commission as a primary stroke center after doing all of that. And they came in person for a whole day to review our program. Once that happened, we got the official certification from the Joint Commission. Then, recently, this is the big update, as of December 1st of last year, we became a receiving facility. Right there, EMS Stroke Receiving Center, as of December 1st, 2024, certified on May 10th. That changed the game for us because I don't know if you guys know, but this is our location right there, right? Look around it. There isn't any other hospitals. If you look at the heat map, that's just the density of that purple color. That's where all of our stroke patients were being diverted to in this community. They were going to, you can see Desert Regional, RUHS, Kaiser, all these big hospitals, right? The problem with stroke, though, it's a medical emergency. If you don't get to a hospital and you got to drive all the way over there, then you're losing valuable time that could potentially save your brain. So there was a need for the community to establish a center within these bounds. So that number we want, we can capture you guys and treat you right away, and you don't have to be taken to these other hospitals. And that was the big goal, but it took a long time, and we actually did it. And now I'm gonna speak to how that works, how it can benefit you if you're having this horrible thing, and what to do about it, okay? We're also gonna go and talk about how you can prevent this, because it's not just about getting treatment, it's you have to have personal responsibility about your own health, because you can prevent a lot of these things, okay? So we have a post-stroke process, and we go out there in the community, and we teach this little acronym, Be Fast. Oh man, all the resources are gone. I left you guys some resources there just to speak more about that, okay? But Be Fast is a simple acronym that anybody can know to identify if somebody's having a stroke, okay? This is what we teach everybody, including all of our employees, so that they can identify strokes within the hospital, okay, if they're not clinical. The first one is balance. Be fast, B for balance. If all of a sudden I'm walking and I like, what's going on? I can't catch my balance, there could be a stroke in the cerebellum, which controls your balance. Remember, your brain controls everything. Your motor coordination, your sight is translating photons into a signal and then changing into an image. You're hearing things. Every emotion, everything you do is controlled centrally by your central nervous system. So now think about it. If you have a little clot somewhere in the brain, imagine the complexity, right? And whatever tissue is downstream from that clot is going to be dying. Now, who knows what that's controlling? It could be your speech. It could be your balance. So that's why strokes are hard to identify, and that's why we have to have a standardized process and education so that you guys know what to do, because it can be looking very different from one person to another, okay? So this helps narrow it down, but there's still more things. For example, nurses have an NIHSS certification And they have like 11 components of that. So they can look at other things like ataxia, which is coordination, right? But this is covering pretty much everything, right? Again, B for balance, E for eyes. If all of a sudden I'm seeing double, or I'm losing partial vision in one of my visual fields, or in both, which is called bilateral hemianopia, it can be a stroke, because guess where the clot is? In the visual cortex in the brain, okay? So next we have face. That's the most common one. We see that a lot. People come in and they have a droopy face. However, it can be mistaken for something else. Who knows what it could be mistaken for? Yes! Damn, you guys are educated. I love it. So people come with facial droopiness. It could be a stroke. It could be Bell's palsy, which is an infection of the facial nerve. So it's a different disease process because, remember, stroke is in the brain. It's actually brain tissue dying. This thing is just affecting peripheral neurons, okay? So anyways, the point is we need to know that this is bad, and then we act upon it. Second, or fourth, arm. Now for arm, just think about one side of the body. It could be the arm, it could be the leg. But with stroke, it's very important that you guys know that these symptoms need to happen unilaterally or in one side of the body. Who knows why? The brain has two hemispheres, right? And the two hemispheres are actually contra-wired. The right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body. So remember, there's a little clot somewhere, and it's gonna be either on the right side or the left side. So therefore, stroke symptoms have one thing that makes them distinct from other things. And that is that what you're feeling, whatever it is, based on these things, would only happen in one side of your body. Make sense? For example, somebody can come and be like, I got weakness in both my legs. It started about 6 hours ago. We're not gonna think stroke right away, but we're still gonna check. As opposed to somebody's like, hey, I got weakness on my left leg that started 6 hours ago only. That's more concerning, right, for stroke. It's starting to make sense? Yeah? All right, then we have S for speech. Speech is two things. You have aphasia, which is the inability to collect your thoughts. For example, all of a sudden, I could be, I don't know what to say. That's aphasia. You have dysarthria. That means that you're speaking, and you can connect your thoughts to your mouth, but you lost control of your motor, control of your tongue, and all that stuff. So it sounds like you're drunk. I can't make that impression, but I'm pretty sure somebody at the bingo night, you'll know what I mean, okay? That's what it looks like, right? Concerning, but it's real. It sounds like you just can't formulate your words, kind of like when you're drunk, okay? Then you have time, and that's the most important thing. Who here knows the time component about stroke? What can we do for you guys? What window do you have? 3 hours. Yes. It's 3 hours, and then it could be extended up to 4.5 hours with exclusion criteria, meaning that we have 3 hours, but let's say the person is doesn't have things like diabetes. That's one of the things. Then we can extend it up to 4.5 hours. So just remember, 3 to 4.5 hours is the window you have to act. If you don't, then it's gonna be very unlikely that we could do something for you. And I'm gonna explain why. Any questions on this? No? Okay. Well, this is how much damage your brain is taking during an acute ischemic stroke. Look at that. Look at the seconds. Even a second wasted means you're losing a lot of neurons. Okay? Yes. Oh, somebody told me about I thought you guys were gonna have a big one right here. But per stroke, we're losing about 1.2 billion neurons. Per hour, 120 million. Per minute, 1.9 million. And per second, 32,000. It's just a reference to let you know that this is happening very quickly. But there's one sad thing about the stroke process, and that is that it doesn't have any pain associated with it. And that's what I've seen is the biggest thing, because when people come to the hospital, what's the main reason they come to the hospital? Something hurts, right? People have heart attacks. Trust me, they'll know they're having a heart attack because it's got chest pain, right? You break your bone, anything. Strokes can happen while you're sleeping. We call them wake-up strokes. You don't know. There's no pain. You wake up, it's already bad. We can't do much for you. That's why this is scary, and that's why you guys should take this. I take it seriously. Everything I tell you guys, I don't just preach it. I'm conscious that I can also get a stroke. Anybody can, right? It's just a deterioration of your health if we don't take care of it, okay? So any questions on the post-stroke process? Yes.
Where was the question? Okay.
I'd rather take questions as I go. That way people don't
That's fine.
forget.
This goes back to the 3-hour window. With the hospital so close, what's the best transportation? Would it be to call 911, take them yourself?
The best thing I can tell you guys is activate the 911 response system, because when you take it upon yourself to go to the hospital, I don't know what's going to happen, right? You got to find somebody. You're not going to be driving. You can't use your legs, or maybe you can't even see. So it's up to the individual, but we always educate everybody to call 911, because not only will they bring you right away, but they're going to bring you and give us all the information that we need before you get there. And that's invaluable, because when you show up, we don't have nothing on you. We got to figure out everything from scratch. When did it start? Blah, 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 blah. But when you come through EMS, not only are they doing it much quicker, but they have all of the assessment tools and medical professionals, because who knows what else could happen during that time, right? A lot of people get strokes and they also have atrial fibrillation, which can cause other problems, and you need to be monitored. So that's my answer to that question, is I would say activate the 911 response system.
About the time, when the clot begins, and then we get to the hospital within that window, can you reverse it?
Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of a primary stroke center, is we can do something. And that's the biggest thing that people don't know. There is a treatment that we do. It's called a thrombolytic. We'll get into it. We'll talk more about it. And I'm going to tell you guys how all that works. Okay? Question, sir?
Some of the symptoms that you're talking about related to strokes, would a brain MRI detect that?
The brain MRI is part of our workup process. But an MRI, anybody had an MRI before? How long does it take?
A long time.
A long time. So in the sense of the diagnosis of a stroke, remember, we're trying to move quickly. So the MRI is left for the post-acute phase to evaluate what damage, if there's any, in the brain. In the initial phase, we use tomographies, which are quick.
Yeah, so if you're having problems, I walked into the garage. When I got there, I forgot why I went in there. I don't know where my keys are. I lost them. Is that just...
I would say it depends on, because I forget things all the time. I'll literally be walking, I'm like, what was I doing? So...
Yeah, my doctor refers to it as OA, old age.
But I would say if that's happening and then you see your facial is droopy, or all of a sudden, hey, my hands are weak, in combination, right? Then I would be, yes, act upon it. But we've had people that come in just for altered level of consciousness, which is what he's referring to. But they're very altered, and they have the inability to really just be who they are. And that could also be a stroke, yeah.
Go ahead.
What do you do if somebody arrives with a hemorrhagic stroke?
Mm-hmm. When we have a hemorrhagic stroke, number one, they're showing up right away. Now, I'm going to speak to the process so you can see how it's benefiting you. But for hemorrhagic strokes, it depends a lot on the patient. We could have a stable hemorrhage, which means that the person is still awake. They might be having a few deficits, but they're still awake and stable, vital signs. You could have a hemorrhage that is literally taking you out. You got to be intubated, and we got to put you on medication to sedate you, bring your blood pressure down. It's a big spectrum, but what we do is we identify the bleed right away. We have standardized protocols to help you in that very critical phase, which is usually two things. We need to reduce your blood pressure rapidly, because the thing that caused the hemorrhage was most likely high blood pressure. Second, we try and reduce your intracranial pressure because of the blood that's leaking out. We try to do that with medications as well. But you will be evaluated by a neurologist, and the neurologist is going to stick with you because you're going to be sent to a higher level of care at Loma Linda. And I'm going to tell you why we do Loma Linda and how that whole thing works. But basically, their neurology, all their neurosurgeons, all their neurologists are working with us in partnership. So we'll send you where you need to go and get you fixed up for that.
Okay, my internal medicine doctor, I had a CAT scan or something for some reason, and he gave me the results and everything looks good. He says, I do see that you had a little stroke a couple years ago. Okay, so I'm wondering, he can see that in there. Does that mean I'm susceptible to more strokes? Or why is it, you know, how do they see that and I'm just walking around?
So when you have a little stroke like that, we call them lacunar strokes, right? So it's just very minor. But the way we find out is once the brain tissue is dead, then it looks different in the CT scans. So that's how they're able to figure out that you've had an old prior stroke. Now remember, the brain is also very incredible. Even when you're having a stroke, it'll try to fix itself. The reason your blood pressure goes up during a stroke event is because the brain is trying to put blood into itself. So the brain will adapt. Even people that have strokes, right, they come out of that stroke and they recover, right, if we have to give them the tools. Why do you think that happens? Because the brain is plastic. It can evolve, and we've discovered, and she can agree, that the brain is plastic up until old age. It's always rewiring itself based on what's going on. Okay?
Go ahead.
All right. So moving forward, you guys know the damage. So why are we here? Well, stroke, believe it or not, jumped from number 5 to number 4 as far as the cause of death in the United States. Number 4 cause. Think about it. That's huge. That's a lot. In our region is one of the top 3 emergency calls. You or somebody you know are often why people survive, because when it's happening, they really cannot act, right? So we rely also on their support group to help them out and identify, because maybe they don't know, but you do. And you could be like, hey man, you're having a stroke, call 911, okay? So our purpose is to build a regional stroke response system working with REMSA, that's the ambulance system, to have an efficient process to just treat the patient, okay? And we have access to all of the tools to do this 24 hours a day, okay? And it's basically, it doesn't matter what time, it doesn't matter if it's day or night, the process and the team is the same, okay? It's the same quality that you'll receive, because it's just the process that we did. We took really good care about having an actual community-focused program that can allow you guys to get the treatment that you need, okay? So stroke protocol, speed plus precision. So this is how it works. To my friend that was asking about hemorrhages, number 1, we identify it, right? That's what we say. Go to 911, they're gonna come. They're going to do an assessment. It's a pre-hospital assessment where they're going to figure out if you're actually having stroke-like symptoms, okay? Then they actually give us a heads up. We activate the code stroke before you guys even show up, before the patient shows up. They give us a call, hey, we'll be there in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, okay? We activate it overhead when they call, and then once again when they arrive, so that the team is literally right there. After that, the ambulance specific for this diagnosis, only for code strokes, has basically the ability to go into treatment immediately. They don't even get registered. They go straight in front of the CT scanner, which is in our ER. Why? Because again, we're trying to be quick. The time is limited. Once we activate the code, like I was telling you guys, even before they show up, we have a whole dedicated team. Every shift has a stroke-specific nurse who handles the code, and then hands off report once everything's done to your primary nurse who will take care of you afterwards. We have a neurologist and a neurology team who come in person Monday through Friday. And we also have a virtual medium for when they're not here off hours. So you always have access to a neurologist. The team also has an ER physician that shows up. Like I said, charge nurse, stroke nurse, technician, they all have individual roles. And we do that everything really quickly in a little pit stop to get your blood, to get your information. The charge nurse places all the orders. And I would say within 5 to 10 minutes, you're already getting your brain scanned, okay? So it's a really fast and streamlined process, but that's what we have to do. So To my friend that was asking about hemorrhages, in that whole process of identifying a code stroke, we'll find out if somebody has a bleed or if it's not bleed related. The first scan that we do actually is just to rule out that there's no blood in the brain, okay? However, we also included tools that could enhance our program to even give us more efficiency. We implemented a VIS artificial intelligence program within our PACS. That's just the imaging system that allows for the images of the studies to be processed. And as soon as you get that scan done, which has already happened very quickly, you guys heard about artificial intelligence, right? It's getting crazy. It's really taking over the whole world. But especially in medicine, it's going to make big advancements. But I would say everywhere. So just to give you an example, this artificial intelligence, once we scan your brain, it'll immediately detect if there's any blood in it. We don't, like the doctor is going to see the study, but we have a screening beforehand where very accurately we can know, okay? If that's negative, then it's not going to alarm anything. But we have basically a screening system, even before the physician gets to see the images, to let us know we should act right away, okay? Additionally, we have a second algorithm, which is called an LVO algorithm. That stands for large vessel occlusions. So the second study that we do in the scan is the same one, but we put contrast in your arteries. And that'll tell us what's going on in the whole vasculature. Remember, stroke is a vascular disease. So there's something going on in the arteries. And that'll detect if you have a large enough clot where we can do something else besides the chemical dissolving of the clot. You can do something called a thrombectomy. And that's for people that they have a really large clot that might not be dissolved fully by this treatment that I'm going to talk about. And they can get the clot retrieved manually through the groin. They go all the way to the brain and pull it out. And that can be done up to 24 hours. So when we call out code stroke, we have two criteria: a last known well of less than 24 hours and a positive BFAST assessment. Remember, we could only help the initial phase up to 4.5 hours and actually give you the drug to dissolve the clot. We cannot give it past that time because now it's going to be a contraindication. Why? Because when you're having a stroke, remember, your brain tissue is going to die. So the body's going to react. It's going to send the immune system. It's going to increase fluid, blood flow, all these things. And the longer it goes, the more risky it is to give that medication. Make sense? That's why there's a time component. So as far as our stroke protocol, that's kind of like the general perspective of it. That's how it happens. It's very smooth and efficient. And you guys are always going to have the same process because it's the best we can do for everybody. Okay? Now, after December 1st, when we actually became a stroke receiving facility, that was a separate survey, by the way. We had to get cleared through REMSA. The whole agency had to come on a different day and ensure that we have the appropriate resources, tools, staff, everything, to ensure that we receive this designation. And they gave us a 5-year contract, and we've been doing that for the last 6 months. Now, what does it mean, right? Like, what changed? Well, a lot changed. You guys can see our numbers for 4 months of data. That's usually when I was barely kind of collecting data when we were about to become primary stroke. From that date, we only had about 30 stroke patients in the hospital. We activated about 17 code strokes, and then we gave thrombolytics only at 3. That's just speaking to the fact that because we didn't have any of these things, people are not going to come to the hospital. I forgot to mention one thing. It's a protocol and a procedure by EMS that if you have a stroke and you're in the area, by their policy, they're going to take you to the nearest designated stroke center. So it doesn't matter if the hospital was 2 blocks from here, because it didn't have any of these certifications and designations. They're not going to take them there. So that's why we saw a huge jump in numbers. It wasn't because all of a sudden more people were having strokes. It's because now people can actually come to our hospital based on these offline protocols. Make sense? So then our numbers now, and that's after the receiving, from 1224 to 325, so we're talking about now this year, right, as of March. Look at the difference. We had a total of 261 code stroke activations from from 17 to 261. And we received a total of 167 stroke patients from the community. That's a lot. So that's just speaking to the fact that the community needed this. And there's a lot of people having strokes around here, but they just weren't coming to the hospital because, again, story. And guess what? It keeps growing. So I just wanted to show you guys this. You guys hopefully can see. You don't need to worry about the numbers. But look at the lower left-hand side. Look at that little line. That's a trend. And it's by quarter. So you can see quarter 3, 2024, quarter 4, 2024, quarter 1, 2025, all the way to quarter 2, 2025, which is the end of June. Okay? It just keeps going up. And I don't see it stopping. It's just, I don't see it like going like this, So we don't know because we don't have a full year of data. What's going to be the full impact of this program, how many people we're going to get per year, but we're already making a huge difference, okay? But let's pause and ask why there's so many people having strokes. Any questions so far? Because we're going to change the topic. Mm-hmm. A stroke is a medical emergency. You guys don't worry about your insurance needs, okay? You have to fix the problem. We'll figure out the whole thing afterwards, okay? But just to give you some peace of mind, Kaiser knows this is a medical emergency. They're not gonna be like, don't give him treatment, bring him to my hospital. No, okay? So I just want you guys don't think about that. Yes?
Excuse me.
Wait a minute, just a minute. Sir, just a minute.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi,
can't see.
just want to know what is the, if you have AFib, what are the chances of getting a stroke?
The chances, I can't give you exact percentages, but I can tell you that atrial fibrillation is one of the risk factors for stroke. And the reason is when you have atrial fib, there's something going on in the right atrium. But the right atrium connects to the left ventricle. The left ventricle pumps blood to the body, right? All the arteries. So when your atrium is not contracting perfectly, like it should, there's an appendage, I forgot the exact name, but the anatomy basically of that chamber allows for blood to pool. And a clot can form in the right atrium. And if something happens or that clot gets dislodged, then it goes into the left ventricle and then into systemic circulation, which goes up into the brain and causes a stroke. Okay?
Hang on, we have 2 questions back.
One more question. This happened a few weeks ago. Let's say you're with somebody, whether it's a family member or a friend or whoever, and they're laying there, they can't get up, they're sitting there, they can't really do much, you don't know what's going on, they have blood pressure problems, they have heart problems, and they're saying, no, don't call 911, let's just wait and see, let's just hold off. So I held off, and they were fine, luckily, but how do you convince somebody to, or do you just call 911?
Because we're talking
And
about
ignore
people
'em.
now, and I met some very stubborn people, and that's just the way they are, So I really can't give you an answer, but what I can tell you is that we get a lot of people that come with that type of story. I thought my arm fell asleep. Sir, ma'am, it fell asleep for 2 days? Usually when it falls asleep, right, it comes back right away. The problem is the lack of education. So what you can do, sir, is educate the person. Educate them. Educate the people. Be like, hey, I think you're having this stroke. Now, you don't want me to call 911, that's fine. But just so you know, if it is a stroke, you only got 4.5 hours to get treatment. And we know when it started, so you decide. Right? And then make them have the decision making, but you can't force anybody to do anything. Even the treatment itself, when we're ready to give it to you, we're gonna ask you and your family, hey, we want to give you this treatment. This is the benefit. This is the risk. You want it? You make the decision.
I have a question. If you or the person you're with is having a stroke or you believe they're having a stroke, is there any type of medication that you can take which will assist in the recovery and the treatment prior to going into receiving medical attention?
Most people take like aspirin on a daily basis. I don't know if it's prescribed or they do it for other reasons, but it's an antiplatelet. It just prevents blood from clotting. But I can't give you advice on what medications to take to prevent a stroke because once you have a stroke, it's going to happen. Now, once you go to the hospital, the physicians will actually figure out what kind of secondary prevention, they call it, you can take to reduce the likelihood that you have a second stroke. But those medications include blood pressure reduction, because we want to make sure your blood pressure is stable. Diabetes medication, because diabetes just makes everything worse. They give antiplatelets like aspirin, Plavix, and if you have atrial fib, you should be on anticoagulation, so they'll give you that. But I think it's best to just treat the emergency and then let the physicians, who are the experts and the neurologists, figure out what you should be taking afterwards.
Hi, do you foresee having genetic panels that can predict a risk of stroke? Because we know some genes are associated with a higher risk of stroke and certain conditions like she was talking about, AFib and things, and we do it already for heart and kidneys that we can predict.
My
people's
understanding,
risk.
as far as genetic component goes, there's one stroke diagnosis that has a genetic component, but that's it's called atrial venous malformations. But that's like a different. People that have that will at some point very likely get a hemorrhage, because it's like intertwined of all the blood vessels and arteries. I'm not aware of any genetic test that can tell you you're gonna have a stroke, because if you look at the science of how these strokes happen, it's mostly lifestyle. And at the same time, there's other things like blood pressure management, things like that can help. But I think most of it, based on what I know, it's all based on our environment. And I'm gonna tell you guys how that works right now.
Guillermo, could we, we're going to stop on the questions right now because we still have another presenter. So I'm going to have you go through yours,
Okay.
through your presentation.
I'm almost done too, so that's good.
Okay.
So stroke statistics, guys, they're on the rise, and that also should speak to the last question, ma'am. If they're on the rise, I don't think we're more genetically prone to it, because if we were, we would have had the problem be already in place. So if it's going up every year, I don't think we could see a genetic shift that quickly. So that points more towards lifestyle. Strokes accounted for 1 in every 20 deaths in the United States. Stroke is fourth leading cause. Globally in 2021, there was about 7.25 million strokes. And then I put that big there because some stroke patients have reported that having a stroke is worse than being dead. Why? Because you're a prisoner in your own body. Your whole independence is gone. You can't talk, you can't eat, you can't do any of this stuff. So take it seriously, and we can do something about it. Like I said, if you have one, we'll be able to treat it, but also be aware, people that have strokes, once they get to that point, unfortunately, it's very hard to just come back to baseline, because the brain, again, the tissue has died. And you can see that patients that have strokes, it's not gonna add up to 100, because remember, stroke patients can have a variety of deficits, can have a combination of all these things. But most people are gonna end up with motor weakness on one side of the body. Other people are gonna have cognitive impairment, that's just talking to like forgetfulness, things like that. You're gonna have people that have problems swallowing or talking. And then we're also gonna get things like language deficits and severe disability. That just means that the patients are gonna end up institutionalized. They're gonna be full care, okay? So it's a bad diagnosis, but we can do something about it. And I'm gonna end it with this. This is all the things that we have to look into if you wanna just be healthy overall. I'm not saying this is gonna prevent a stroke, but think about what a stroke is. It's plaque buildup in the brain. How does plaque get there anyway? Now, obviously, you're gonna talk to different people, gonna tell you different things. But I know eating unhealthy causes inflammation, right? Causes problems in the gut, inflammation, all this stuff. I know for a fact, sugar itself, the molecular structure is so jagged that it literally damages your arteries. What's the body gonna do? It's gonna try and repair that, and then it puts cholesterol. Now, is the fault of the cholesterol? Some people will say, yeah. But it's all downstream, and it's all a process. The body is so beautiful in its mechanism, right? When it starts to malfunction and not work properly, it could be for a bunch of reasons, but I think it has to do a lot with what we put into our bodies, for 100%. So regular exercise is common sense, right? We should be exercising all our lives. It's part of being healthy. But that would also prevent you getting these chronic diseases. For example, diabetes. What's the problem with diabetes? High blood sugar. So why are we eating sugar if the problem is high blood sugar? It just doesn't make sense to me. Okay? So we also encourage that you guys have a balanced diet. Everybody's diet is going to be different, but we all know what that healthy meal looks like. We all know, and we could be like, I should be eating this instead of this, right? Some awareness we should have, and if we don't, then let's learn. Smoking cessation is big because that just damages your whole blood pressure system. So we encourage people to stop smoking. We also encourage people, if you have blood pressure problems, to manage that, because if you don't, that's going to cause more damage over time. We're finding out more and more that high blood pressure, they call it the silent killer, right? It causes a lot of problems. We also want you to stop consuming so much alcohol. We want you to be able to manage your weight if that's something you want to. If you have diabetes, we have to get that under control. And if you're on medication, well, we want you to be taking that because, for example, we had a post-stroke person come in yesterday, and her blood pressure was 221. And what's going on? She's like, well, I haven't taken my blood pressure medication for like 2 weeks. So that's what it's referring to. Medication adherence says, well, that's just helping you keep the balance that is very delicate, and we don't want you to go above that. And then regular checkups, like my friend over here was saying, she went to get a scan, and then they told her she had a mini stroke, right? So that's all part of the holistic care. But I'm really honest, and I mean it, guys, like you can prevent these things, or you can do a lot to prevent them by paying attention. And the vision, this is my last slide, so we can call the person. The vision that we have is to basically make EMS, ER, and specialists, which is a neurologist, a transitional care that happens seamlessly. We want to reduce door-to-needle times through better synchronization of EMS collaboration and standardized response. That's what I was talking to you guys about, the actual thrombolytic that's going to dissolve your clot. We want to make that process as quickly and as efficient as possible. We want to continue to develop a system of accountability and education at every point of care. That's one of the things I'm good at. I make sure everybody is accountable for what they're supposed to do. I don't care if you're a doctor, neurologist, or a technician. You have a role, and you're going to do it because you're signing up for this, right? So I hold everybody accountable, even EMS. You know, whatever goes wrong, and I'm going to tell you how I find out. Every single stroke patient that comes in gets audited by our PI team for a 16-page audit where we collect the data of your medical record, just put it and figure out what we did. Did we do everything right? Did we meet all the metrics? Did we miss a metric, and why did we do that? And then when we do that, we're like, hey, you missed this thing. Why did you miss it? Next time, don't, please. So we have a whole self-accountability process that is continuous. It's never going to stop because these are requirements by the Joint Commission. We send their data every quarter. They come and survey us every year, and REMSA as well. Okay? And lastly, we want to establish stroke in our hospital as a hospital-wide culture, meaning that I don't want them to do it because the boss says to do it. I educate everybody and I tell them, listen, we're working here, we're a community hospital. We're being led by a community board. That means the CEO is answering to the community. So I educate the entire staff within our hospital to do this for the community, not because this is what we're doing. And this is just for you guys. And the hospital is very dedicated to that. And our goal is just to be a powerhouse, an asset to our community when it comes to this specific diagnosis, now that we have the ability to do so. And lastly, just so you guys know, because we have 1 year of data now, we have began to achieve certain metrics. And the hospital earned a national award through the American Heart Association. Based on all of these metrics, I'm not going to talk too much about them because my time is limited. But on the right-hand side, there's our award. It says San Gregorio Memorial Hospital Banning, Silver Plus 2025 with a Target Stroke Honor Roll Elite. That means that all the thrombolytics that we give, we met goal. We give it underneath 60 minutes. And then additionally, for type 2 diabetes honor roll, that means that people that came in and had diabetes at the same time, we took extra care to ensure they can manage that. So the reason it's silver is not because we're number 2 or anything like that. It's because to get gold, you need to have 2 years of consecutive data. So we're on our first one, but we're already getting recognition nationally from American Heart Association, telling us that we're doing really good. And that's it.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce Kimberly, and she's going to talk about the Alzheimer's and all the information you can ask. Please, let's ask questions after she's done the presentation. It gets too confusing when somebody's asking a question. And try not to ask personal questions. You could talk to her afterwards, but these are just general information that she's going to give you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon. Yeah, you want to set that up?
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to take a moment to thank Sun Lakes for inviting us out today, as well as Christine Ellis and Michelle Water and Doug Emery. Thank you so much. My name is Kimberly Spiegel, and I'm the Senior Program and Operations Manager for the Alzheimer's Association. We're located, hang on a second, let me get you. Speed that by, okay. We are located in Palm Desert. We have been brick and mortar serving the Coachella Valley, Banning, Blythe, and the High Desert for 25 years. And you can walk in, you can talk to us, we are there. We provide information, education, care, and support throughout our coverage area. So I'm gonna dive in a little bit, so we'll go ahead and get started. So who we are and what we do. The Alzheimer's Association started in 1980. In 1980. We're the new kids on the block if you think about disease. Think about heart, diabetes, any of the other issues that come about. I'm trying to think, but not coming to mind right now. All the other diseases, they've all started in the 1920s. The Alzheimer's Association started in 1980 by a gentleman named Jeremy Stone in Chicago. His wife had the disease, and he really didn't know what to do, but he knew he needed to do something. So he and a few friends at the kitchen table came up with the Alzheimer's Association. And look how far we've come today. We serve the entire United States, and we're the #1 funder for research to end this disease. We've done a lot. Well, this one says the third, but we're #1 now. I'm sorry, I combined the presentations. We are #1 now in funding. And everything we do, anytime you interact with us, it's free. You will never be charged. They will never receive a bill. Everything we do is free of charge. So what is our vision? Our vision is a world without Alzheimer's, simply put. And our mission is to lead the way to find the cure for this disease. So here's a little facts and figures for us. Okay, so, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. We have over 7 million Americans with this disease. I've been with the association for 10 years, and when I started, we were just under 5 million. We are now at 7 million. It's projected by 2050 to be 15 million. Every 65 seconds, someone in the United States develops this disease. Hi, Diane. And Alzheimer's kills more people than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined, when you think of that. This is the scary fact, because almost 2/3 of Americans that living with this disease are women. This disease hits us harder than men. Originally, it was thought because women live longer than men, typically, but they're finding that that's not the case. There's other things that come into play. And as soon as they're doing the research right now to find out why, but it does impact us more. And some of the issues that had come to forward was estrogen, because women, by the time we're 55, we're depleted of estrogen, and estrogen protects the brain. So, but if you take estrogen, there's some issues that come about with that as well. So again, having those conversations with your doctor is key. So the impact that Alzheimer's has on families. I can tell you, I have firsthand experience. I've gone through this disease 3 times. It is tough. We have the sandwich generation where you're taking care of yourself, your children, and your parents. And that can bring a lot of stress, frustration into families, causing a lot of emotional issues. If you look at the amount of hours for unpaid care for caregiving for someone, that's 18.5 billion. Caregiving is very expensive. To hire a caregiver, if you were to go out and hire a caregiver, the average rate is anywhere between $27 to $40 an hour. To place someone in a boarding care can be anywhere between $4,000 to $6,000 a month. And if it is a facility, it can be anywhere between $8,000 to $10,000 a month. And most people do not have long-term care insurance. So oftentimes, if you have a husband and wife with disease, whoever, or one of them has the disease, most of the funding will go to cover that disease, the cost for care, as well as any other money that you've put aside, leaving the person who is healthy without additional funds. So we see that happen a lot. It is financially devastating. I need some water. Hang on one second. I'm gonna grab some water here. So when we're looking at this, is what we do and how we help. We provide educational programming like I'm doing today. We do everything from living with Alzheimer's, socialization programming that we have available, understanding Alzheimer's and dementia, know the 10 signs. That's kind of what I meshed together today. Effective communication. 80% of managing this disease is how we communicate. We struggle with that because we communicate with logic and reason. And our folks who have memory loss, logic and reason has left the building. But we still try to pull logic and reason together. And that's why we really stumble. And it's very easy to pull what we call a behavior. It's a trigger for a behavior. And that can start that ball rolling, and it can take hours to get you back to where you first began. So being mindful of that. And if you are there and at that time, and you're frustrated and you don't know what to do next, or you're about to pull your hair out, we have a 24/7 helpline. You can pick up the phone, call that 800 number, and on the other end is another person who is skilled in helping you walk through this, giving you the information that you need to process whatever is happening at the moment. Again, it is free, 24/7. They will then trigger, if you're here in this area, they will trigger a call to me, and then I will follow up with you in the morning. We provide care consultations where you can come in and sit down, and we can walk you through where you are in the disease, what resources you might need. We can help you put together a plan, talk about legal and financial. We can help you with finding different ways to hold on to cognition longer. We do it through a program called Healthy Living for the Brain and Body. We can help you process from beginning to end with this disease. We can follow you all the way through. We also have support groups. And support groups, I think, are probably one of the best things that we do. Because, again, having gone through this disease, it's isolating. A lot of people don't understand what you're going through, or they think it's minimal when it's not. We do have a support group here at Sun Lakes. Diane, who's sitting right over here. Diane, you want to stand up and say hello? Hi, you want to tell them when you're doing it?
Should I give my speech now? Okay. Hi. Thank you, Kimberly.
You're welcome.
My name is Diane Stone, and I've lived in Sun Lakes for 23 years, and I'm the co-facilitator of the Sun Lakes Caregiver Support Group. We meet every third Thursday for 2 hours in the multipurpose room at 10 a.m. Well, you might be thinking that this kind of group isn't for you because you're not a caregiver, but I'm sure you know one or two people here in this community, or maybe not in the community, who are caregivers. And coming to a group like ours helps them to get through it because they're trying to do it themselves, and you can't. When you go to a when you go to a group, it gives you a chance to talk and to get input from other people who really get it. Because when you're a caregiver, you find that many of your friends kind of peel away. And even your children don't really get it. They don't understand what's going on. Sometimes that's your fault because I don't want, oh, they're working, I don't want to tell them, you know. You come up with all sorts of the mother excuses that you shouldn't involve them. So you're by yourself. But going to a group meeting gives a caregiver a chance to get a lot of things off his or her chest. And people who are with you really understand and know how you feel. Sometimes you get very good advice from them because they've already been there. My co-facilitator is Doug Deans, who's a retired pharmacist, and he took care of his mother and father during their last years here at Sun Lakes. He not only understands about the challenges of being a son taking care of his parents, but it's a wonderful source of knowledge about the confusing drugs that a caregiver is in charge of administering. I personally was a caregiver for 16 years. My husband had Alzheimer's, and I got lots of benefit from going to many group meetings, just like the one that Doug and I do now. The caregiver support group is open to all caregivers, not just limited to caregivers of people with dementia. And for those who can bring their loved ones with them, we have a wonderful program going on at the same time in the art room. And Anne Magnolia will tell you all about that. So please spread the word about the caregiver support group. Encourage people that you know who could benefit from it. Now, I've had people who come and then 2 years later they come back and they say, well, I wasn't ready for it then. They didn't want to hear all of the things that you could learn. But we can teach, we can help. I see people here in this room who are nodding their heads, saying, yes, I went through it, we went through it together. But now, please, I'd like to introduce Anne Magnolia, who will tell you about the group that goes on in the art room. Thank you.
How are you? It's good. Oops, let me get over here. Okay. Hello, my name's Anne Magnolia. I think we have a really special and unique program here at Sun Lakes. Let me tell you a little bit about my group. While the caregiver is attending the meeting, I and 3 other very capable and loving volunteers care for their loved one. We play games, we color, we do puzzles, we do Tai Chi exercises, and we have live entertainment. We have anything from a guitar-playing Willie Nelson tribute to Hawaiian dancers, not to mention our saxophone player and the group's pizzazz and fusion. No one is forced to participate. We do whatever it takes to keep their loved one happy. If you're curious, think our support group might be for you. Stop in and observe what we do. We'd love to have you.
Thank you. This is what I'm talking about, that it takes a village. You have it here at Sun Lakes. You have a support group, and you also have someone else who's helping the caregiver who's managing their loved one. So it's priceless. This disease really is complicated for caregivers. Let me see, we bumped through these a bit. So I'm gonna move on. So memory loss, dementia, and Alzheimer's. Here are the 10 warning signs for this disease. These are problematic issues that change or that can have changes in the brain that cause issues. So you're looking at everything from just memory disruption. You're struggling getting through the day. You can't remember things that you normally would remember. And you'll know that feeling. It does hit you when when we talk to people in the earlier stages of the disease, they know that they're struggling. They know that they're having a hard time. They oftentimes will compensate by taking a lot of notes. They will oftentimes take their phone and take pictures of things, so they'll remember what they're doing or what needs to be done, and oftentimes they forget that they took the photo as well. So it's problematic. They also have trouble with planning. Planning is a real issue for our folks. Problem solving can come into play as well. What you really notice is when they struggle with familiar tasks, things they already know, things they've been doing for 30 years, and now all of a sudden they're struggling. For women, one of the things we often see, and I saw with my mother, was cooking. Making a meal that she's made for decades, and she was struggling to put the components together for the meal. She couldn't remember. And she was aware of it, I was aware of it, and I said, you know, we'll just put it together, it'll be what it is, and it's gonna be fine. It was macaroni with, I don't know if you guys are familiar, there's a Midwestern dish, it's macaroni with hamburger in it. Yeah, there you go. Well, we didn't have the hamburger, we just had the macaroni and the tomato sauce. But it worked out okay, and what we want to do is make our people, or the people who have this disease, make them feel that they're not alone, that we're not going to abandon them. We are here to help them through this disease. Communication, as I said, is key, and how we talk to them truly matters. It can change everything from how you interact and the behaviors that can follow if you don't process the communication well. So they have problems with new words, speaking or writing. They misplace things. Oftentimes what they will do is they have something and they're afraid that they're not going to remember where they put it, or somebody's going to take it, so they hide it, and then they forget where they hid it. That happens often. Decrease in poor judgment, this is where driving comes in play. So when people are diagnosed with this disease in the earlier stages, oftentimes we definitely tell them they shouldn't be driving. But that is one of the hardest privileges to take away from someone. Working with the DMV to have them come back in for a redetermination is key to starting the process. Nobody likes the DMV, so let the DMV tell them that they can't drive anymore. They withdraw from work and social activities, and you'll notice a change in mood. They often pull away. In a social situation, if you're sitting around with 4 or 5 friends, they're not engaging, they're not participating. And the reason why they're not is because that conversation is flying at over 80 miles an hour, and we're able to just snap and keep up. They're struggling, so they just sit back, watch, may participate a little bit, but oftentimes not. So what is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia. 60 to 80% of all dementia cases will eventually turn into Alzheimer's. It is progressive, and currently we don't have anything to prevent it. But we do have something that just came out a year and a half ago to slow it down, but we do not have a cure. So there are drugs that can help slow down the process, but you have to do it in the very early stages of disease. And the problem there is, for most people, they know they're struggling. They know they're having a problem, but they don't want to say anything for the fear factor. But I stress, please, please speak up, because there are medications, there are choices that you can make to hold on to cognition longer. It buys you time. It's not a cure, but it buys you time. They're infused medications, Leqembi and donanemab, and they basically remove the amyloid plaque in the brain, making it short and sweet. But it's worth having the conversation. I really beg you to have that conversation. If you feel that you're struggling, talk to your doctor. What are the risk factors? Age. The clock starts ticking at 65. However, there are some people, it's a small component or small portion, that get what's called younger onset, meaning they get it before the age of 65. And they typically get it at between 45 and 55. Younger onset tends to move faster than typical Alzheimer's. The family history, there's a genetic component to this disease. It's called an ApoE4 gene. If you have the gene, it doesn't mean you're going to get the disease. It means that you have a high risk of getting the disease. So having those conversations with your doctor, changing your lifestyle, putting things in play to either stave it off for longer until hopefully we do find a cure for this disease. Most people, you'll get a copy from mom or dad. You'll get an ApoE2, 3, or 4. 2 is kind of a protector gene. 3 is kind of a middle gene, doesn't do a lot. But 4 is definitely tied to Alzheimer's. If you get an ApoE4 from both mom and dad, you're more than likely going to get this disease. Lifestyle matters, though. Lifestyle makes a huge difference. Using your brain, think about it, all day long you stay in rote memory, right? You do everything that you normally do all day long. Your brain's not working. You have to challenge it. Do something new. Try something different. You can try feeding yourself with your left hand instead of your right hand if you're right-handed. Little things like that can kick up the brain, making it work. Join a class, the art class. I know you guys have a plethora of programming here, so I encourage you to sign up for something. Exercise matters. You really want to engage in exercise as long as your doctor approves, because it gets your heart rate up. Every time your heart beats, more blood goes to the brain. So think about it, you're getting more blood to the brain. What does the brain survive on? Does anybody know? Oxygen and glucose. So the more, every time your heart beats, the more you get blood to the brain, the more the brain is fed. I mean, that is simplistic, but that is true. So the types of dementia. What do we have here? This is the dementia umbrella. Dementia is not a disease, it's a condition. It's a condition of several things going on in the body that's causing the brain to sputter. However, 60 to 80% of dementia cases will turn into Alzheimer's. And if you're looking at this, you have Alzheimer's, vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia. My mother had Lewy body dementia, which is oftentimes tied in with Parkinson's as well. Frontal temporal lobe dementia, that's what Bruce Willis has. And then others such as Huntington disease and mixed dementia as well. So you can have two. You can have Alzheimer's and Lewy body. That's what my mother was diagnosed with. So you can have multiple. The idea is to really talk to your doctor, get the testing done, understand what you have, understand if you're in the earlier stages, what options you have. I can't stress that enough. Please have those conversations because there are options now. Talk to your healthcare professional. We have medications, as I said. There are some to treat the symptoms of the disease, to help manage behaviors. But however, we do have infused drugs that will actually, it'll help stave off the disease, giving you more time. It's not a cure, but it's an amazing thing. Years ago, when my mom had the disease, we didn't have that option. We just had to go through the process. But now there is something, so have those conversations. And again, they can be, as you see here, treatments can be done either via a patch or a pill. It could be done, there's some injectables as well. So this is the brain. This is a healthy brain, and this is a brain with disease. So the healthy brain, you have to think, we're born with over 100 billion neurons. That's a lot of neuron. We lose them due to lifestyle choices we make as we grow older, younger, all the way through. We lose a few. But you still have plenty to get you through the rest of your life. The signals in the brain fly at over 300 miles an hour. That's why from neuron to neuron, that's why we can do things instantaneously, because it flies that fast. When the brain is sick, over here we see the amyloid plaque to the right, you can see it. That builds up in the brain. That's a precursor for Alzheimer's, that amyloid plaque. It's supposed to be there, it just goes wonky, and it overproduces. Inside the neuron are the tau tangles. So that neuron is being attacked two ways, one from the outside and one from the inside. The tau tangle kind of looks like a ladder, and it falls apart. It's not supposed to, therefore causing problems with the neuron from the inside as well as the outside. Eventually, it will kill the neuron. And whatever that neuron was responsible for, you're not going to be able to do. Unless you were really someone who was forward-thinking and was maybe had a higher education or a different type of career, something very involved, it may take longer. You have more time because of the way that your brain cells and the way that the brain is structured due to the number of brain cells. What are the stages? We have early, middle, and late. So there's 3 stages. Early stage is when we can detect It's usually when we first go to the doctor, and it can be called MCI, which is mild cognitive impairment. And at that point is when you have the option now to talk about possible infusion drugs to help stave this off. The issue with the drugs, if you have an ApoE4 gene, is a brain bleed, which can be problematic in itself. So they will tell you if you have that gene, you have to go through counseling for that. In the middle stage, it's the longest stage of the disease, and this is where caregivers really struggle. And they struggle because they're tired, they really don't know how to manage the disease well. They're just trying to get through the day. But that's where a support group comes in. I can't stress it enough, because you're going to learn things in a support group they're not in a book, because other people have tried it, and you take a piece of what this person has done, add a little bit of that over there, and bang, it works perfect for your loved one. Support groups make a difference, and they help caregivers, because no one really understands what you're going through other than someone else who's going through it too, or has been through it. Because this disease is very isolating. The late stage, it requires 24/7 care. They're not ambulatory for some are, but most are not. They have issues with toileting, bathing. Every one of your ADLs, your active daily livings, you're not able to do, you need assistance with. Usually it's at the late stage of the disease when hospice enters the picture. So the early stage, it's problematic, as I said. You have problems coming up with the right word, trouble remembering something that you've just learned. We hold on to our long-term memory, but it's something that we've just recently learned or information that we've just started to process. When you start losing that and you're struggling with holding on to that information, and therefore you're taking pictures or you're writing it down to try to remember, there could be issues there. So again, having those conversations. It could also be that you have too much going on. There's a lot of things that it can be. It doesn't mean it has to be Alzheimer's or dementia, but have those conversations just to see. Because if it is, you do have some options. Sorry, my throat is... I took an allergy pill, so... Challenges performing tasks. Social settings, as I said earlier, are really a struggle for people with disease. They do not like social settings. And why? Because no one includes them in the conversation oftentimes. And as I said, that conversation is flying at over 300 miles an hour. The subjects are changing quickly. They can't keep up. And then they don't want to say something because they're embarrassed. So be mindful if you are taking your loved one out and you're doing an event or you're talking to friends or you're having lunch, keep that circle small and be sure to include them. They lose things from time to time. I know with my mother, she lost things quite often. She would hide them. I found her wedding ring after my mom passed under a glass dome of some doll that she had bought years and years ago, and I was taking it out of the back of the closet to take it for, I was going to give it away, donate it, and when I pulled it out, the lid wasn't glued on, and out came her wedding rings and some of her jewelry. And that's usually the first thing that goes is jewelry, because what happens, they'll carry a lot of tissue sometimes, and they'll take their ring off, because I don't want somebody to take my ring, so I take my ring off and I put it in a tissue, and I put my tissue in my pocket because I'm going to hold on to it. I forget that the ring is in the tissue. They pull out the tissue and throw it in the trash. So we found jewelry that way many times. So be mindful of that. Also be mindful of toilet paper can be an issue with bathrooms. I'm just going to throw that one out as well, because that can end up flooding your home. One-ply toilet paper is the way to go, because what they'll do is they'll tend to continue to pull the toilet paper in the middle stage of the disease until it's in a ball, and then they typically get up and drop it in the toilet and then flush it, and then off they go. That's where, again, support groups or we could help you understand that you buy these little water monitors. You can buy them on Amazon. They're really cheap, and you put it behind the toilet. So when the water comes over the side, because you've clogged it, you get the beep, 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 and you can clean it up with a mop versus a shop vac. Okay. That middle stage is when you go as a care partner, meaning a loved one, you go from being a care partner to a caregiver in that middle stage. And that is really hard for spouses. It's really, really hard. Men struggle more so than women. We see that men really have a harder time. And we have a lot of support groups that have mostly men in them. When I first started, it was all women, maybe 1 or 2 men. Now it's 50-50. Men are starting to understand that they need the help, and they're coming in, and they're learning from other men how to manage their wife, which is beautiful to see, but it's also very helpful. They have that camaraderie. We have a group on Thursdays that meets every week at 8:30 in the morning, and they meet on Zoom, and it's predominantly men. It's 90% men, but the group has a woman facilitator. So, but it works really well. I think we have some of the information up here, but Diane also, you'd be able to direct them to the groups, right? Would you be able to do that, other groups? Okay. And if not, you can always give us a call, and we can give you that information. Okay, so patterns in sleep take place in the middle stage where they don't stay asleep. They get up in the middle of the night. And that's really hard for a caregiver because they're struggling. They need that 8 hours sleep, and they've been working hard all day long. You get into bed, and they get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they are up and they're doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing. 6 out of 10 people with this disease will wander. It's purposeful. They'll say, oh, I forgot to go. I can run to the store right now and get it. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. And you won't notice that they're gone if you sleep hard. You won't know until the morning that they're gone. So that's where we help you. The support groups can also help you. Our 24/7 helpline can help you understand what you need to put into place if you are caregiving for somebody with this disease. Those bracelets are key. And now they have bracelets with with trackers. I sewed in trackers on everything my mother owned because she was a wanderer in the city of Chicago. Yeah, we called the police multiple times. And it, again, was purposeful. She was just going to go to Target. It's just down the road. It's 6 miles down the road. But in her head, it was just down the road. So again, having those eyes on, bringing somebody in, talking to family. Oftentimes we're afraid to ask people to help us. Please ask. People want to help. We get that all the time from folks. Well, they never ask me. They've never asked. I want to help, but they've never asked. And so we try to get them to ask, their friend, instead of how can I help, tell you what, I'm going to pick up Sue and I'm going to take her over here. We'll walk through Target. We'll have lunch. You have about 2.5 hours. You relax. Take charge of it, and you'll see that it's a win-win for both. You get to help your friend out quite a bit. Again, as I said, 6 out of 10 will wander, and they move fast. They move really fast. Most people say people with dementia are slow movers. Not when they're wandering. They can cover a mile faster than, I think, a Olympic athlete. They move fast. So in the late stage, it's being aware of your surroundings. The one thing I do want to add in the middle stage too is to be mindful of mirrors, because mirrors can sometimes throw our folks off. But the one mirror that doesn't necessarily impact them as much is the mirror in the bathroom. You'll see they'll walk by the mirror and either they'll have a conversation with the mirror or they will think that somebody's in the house. And what we often recommend is what they do is buy contact paper, cover up the mirror. You don't have to take it down, just cover it up for now. And again, you'll learn these things as you interact with us, but also with your support group too. Nonverbal communication changes. They're vulnerable to infections because bathing becomes an issue in the late stage. Bathing becomes an issue in the middle stage too, is when we first see it. Because they've been able to shower by themselves and then all of a sudden they don't want to shower. And the one piece of advice I can give you is prep the shower, set it up for them. Go in, put the water on, test it, and we use what's called therapeutic fibbing. I used to do it all the time. There's something wrong with the pipes. That hot water, it's crazy. Here, let me try it. And I would set it up, and I'd say, oh, it's okay now. and go in to take the shower. And it was successful every single time. Why? Because the water was the temperature it needed to be. Otherwise, they go in there, and what do? They turn the shower on. And what are they hit with? Freezing cold water. And I'm not doing that again. And that's where you usually have those hurdles. So learning the disease, there's a great book called The 36-Hour Day. It's a wonderful book. It gives you a lot of these guidelines, but it also gives suggestions as well. But I think your biggest and best bet is your support group, and you have one here. So what are the 5 ways to love your brain? It's really simple. I tell folks, try to do these 5 every single day. You are then putting yourself in a good position, your brain in a good position, to stave this disease off if it's meant for you, and if it's not, you're going to really appreciate being able to do these and holding whatever decline you may have off. So socialization is number 1. Why? Because when we communicate, our brain has to work. So when I'm talking to you, I'm giving you something, I wait, you have to take it, process it, and then say something back. And we just do this volley back and forth. The brain has to work. If you're watching TV and you're just watching, it's passive, your brain isn't working very hard. But when you're talking and socializing, your brain is working at full speed. Cognitive stimulation, try something new. Try anything new. You can even watch a new show, but then talk about the show afterwards. Don't just watch the show, engage in it. That's one way of the communication between you and your loved one, but also a cognitive exercise. I'm thinking of the smallest, littlest things. You can take classes, you have plenty of them here. Just stay engaged, both cognitively, socially. Get that exercise component here. I know you have a lot of classes as well. Getting that blood flow going, getting that brain going. You can also socialize while you're exercising. After you're done exercising, you can go have a healthy meal, that diet and nutrition. Try to stack them all up as you can in one day. Diet and nutrition comes into play. Junk in, junk out. So think about what we put in our body. Be mindful of the sugars, because everything has a lot of sugars in it. Prepared foods have a lot of chemicals in it as well. Preservatives, added sugars. Try to stay healthy. Try to stick to what's called the Mediterranean diet. It's a really good diet. It's how we used to eat 30 years ago, where you didn't have a box of whatever and throw it in and add water and boil and boom, you've got dinner. No, it wasn't that way. So take a look at that. Think about how you cook and the meals that you prep. Have vegetables, lots of vegetables. Try to keep that starch to a limit. Sleep and deep sleep. Sleep is one of the hardest things as we age. We're all chasing sleep. If at most we sleep 5 hours, we're up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's important to understand that the body needs to reboot itself. That deep sleep is very important. Why? Deep sleep, we call them the brain janitors. They go in, and their job is to clean out that amyloid plaque. Again, with disease, you have so much more than you would normally have. So deep sleep helps, but it's not going to make a big difference in that respect. However, for a healthy brain, it will. So getting that deep sleep is key, and most people, it's hard to tell whether or not you've had deep sleep unless you wear an Apple Watch. I drive my husband crazy, because that's the first thing I do when I wake up. I'm like, let me see what I got here. And he said, that would drive me nuts. I would have so much anxiety. And I'm like, no, because it gives me the opportunity to make changes. So did I have that glass of wine? Maybe I'll try it tomorrow without a glass of wine and see what that changes. And how much TV am I watching? Because you really, don't be anal about it, but you have to engage in your health and be part of it. Be the captain of your boat. Be the one steering it. So make sure that you follow these 5 simple steps here. I'm sure when you're looking at them, you can do them all in one day. Just engage. Know that we're here. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you would like to know more about a subject, you can always reach out to us. We're available in the Coachella Valley. Our office is, as I said, brick and mortar for 25 years in Palm Desert. But you also have a support group here that is tied to our office. You have your 24/7 helpline. You can call us on the phone. We can answer those questions for you as well. So you are not alone. It's the one thing I want to leave you with is you are not alone, because this disease can make you feel like you don't have a friend in the world and that you're really struggling. And I don't want you to feel that way. Again, support groups, they are the rock bottom for what we do. Okay? Thank you all so much. Any questions?
Hi, how do you deal with someone that you know has dementia but is absolutely in denial, denies it completely?
They always do, pretty much, mostly. It is not, why do you need for them to acknowledge it?
Because she won't. Because it's my sister, and I just got back from Texas. I visited her. She doesn't take her pills, and she doesn't, she hides things. But the thing is, she won't go to the doctor. Without absolutely taking her physically and putting her in the car, she will not go.
Oftentimes, they will go to the doctor for the primary, and once the doctor gives that diagnosis, they usually don't want to go back. Or they'll go back one more time, and when they see the word decline or they talk about the decline, it spooks them. The idea is that we know she has it. So having her acknowledge that she has it isn't really going to make or break your day. It's communication, and how you communicate with her when it comes to the pills is maybe say, I found this really nice way to do medications. It works for me, and it was a neighbor who shared this with me. You should give it a try. And here, let me show you how to set it up. And you can start that way. But as they progress through the disease, these are tasks that they're not going to be able to do. So you can either start it, see if she can do it. If she can't do it, then you need to do it. And there's ways that you can do it. You can talk to your pharmacy. There is a program called Pill Pack. It's all the medications are already in it. It comes in a little zip thing. You tear it off every day with a date and time when you take it. I love it. I used it for my mom. Made things so much easier. And so there was no needing to put anything anywhere. The idea, though, is once you give it to them, is for them to take it. That's the key, too, sometimes. I hope I answered that question for you. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for this presentation.
Oh, thank you.
How do you know when you have it? I mean, I walk into places many times and go, what did I come here for? I got to go back to where I began and come back again.
That can be an aging brain. It can be a brain that's not getting enough sleep. There's a lot of things it can be. What you'll know is when you have disease is it's repetition. You're struggling to get through the day. You are, let's say you're driving to the grocery store, and you've gone to that grocery store for the last 15 years, and you take the same street, everything. You get into the car and you go, oh, yeah, go up here, and then turn. If you have to do that, then you know you're having problems. Your brain is sputtering. And that's when you have these conversations with your doctor, because there's other things that can be too. So that the fear factor of asking, maybe it is something simple that you know, medication-wise or a change in medication can cause some of these things.
Now, getting
the brain fog.
The test, this test you spoke about for the APEEO2, is that something that we can get, or
yeah,
you have to
you can get the
it?
test. You can get an ApoE4 gene. You can also get tested, a blood test, to see whether or not you have any markers in your blood as well. That's something new that has come out as well. There's several things that you can do to find out, but what they'll do typically when you go to a doctor and you say you're struggling, they're going to do a quick exam. They're going to do a quick MOCA exam, it's called, the Montreal test. And I'm going to give you 7 animals. You've got to remember these. Where is the circle on top of the square, where the triangle is? And it's not hard, but it is for people who have disease. Because at the end is when they ask you about those animals. And if you have a loved one who's taking these tests and they're afraid, study it with them. They're still going to probably fail, but it gives them the feeling that they have a chance.
I have 2 questions back here, but before I let them ask the questions, it was requested if you could put the phone number back up for the contact information.
Sure.
Thank you.
Oops, there it is.
Hi, I just wanted to know if you brought any literature on all of this.
I did. I brought in some information on understanding Alzheimer's and dementia. This behavior here, or this handout is really good. It's on behaviors to help walk you through those. And we have the communication sheet. This is what we call the communication Bible. It's how to communicate with somebody who has disease. I follow this. Take this, hold it dear to your heart if you are living with somebody who has disease, because it'll help you learn how to communicate. Be mindful of your logic and reason that you're applying to somebody who really doesn't have that capacity to process. Yeah. Diane said she could put a packet together, or we can do it and give it to you, and you can pass them out. Okay.
I actually have a couple requests back here for some more of the paperwork.
Okay.
So would it be best to contact you directly, or would it be best to contact the support group here in Sun Lakes?
The support group. You can contact the support group. Diane will get a hold of me. I will put the packets together, and then we'll make sure that Diane gets them and can distribute.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Linda.
Do you happen to know if that gene testing is covered by insurance? and also, can you get it on request, or is the doctor going to want to come up with a preliminary diagnosis?
Well, typically they don't do the test for the gene. Your doctor, when you go in for diagnostic for the disease, if you're going in and you're saying, my brain is a little foggy, I'm having trouble. You hit at least 3 of the 5 markers that you're struggling. They typically will do the MOCA, then they do the blood test, then they do imaging. It kind of goes in that order. And the gene, if you have the gene, let's say my mom gave me a gene, and I have an ApoE4 gene, it means that I have a risk factor of 20% more than you would have if you didn't have it. And so I can hopefully try to stave that off by changing my lifestyle, doing more things, better things, those 5 I just shared earlier, to stack the odds in the favor that maybe I won't get it in my 70s, maybe I'll get it in my late 80s, early 90s.
So that people know.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if that helps answer your question. It's because you can definitely order the test.
Oh.
But
don't need a
being
referral,
mindful
or?
that if you're applying for any kind of long-term care insurance or any of those other things, those type of tests on your medical record can be problematic.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
This has to do with diet and sugar in particular. Of course, added sugars, I think we all know, is very damaging. But good food, milk, fruits, they have a lot of sugar in them too. Are those damaging if you have too much of those?
Well, I'm not a nutritionist, so that's a question I would ask, my doctor. But yes, too much of anything can be bad, but trying to stay down the middle, meaning like if you're going to have grapes, you can have a handful of grapes. You don't need to eat the entire thing. Just pacing yourself. But those sugars are better sugars than eating a candy bar or eating cake. Those are much better sugars. They give you more things too, vitamin C. They bring all these other things into play. But just being mindful, everything in moderation. Any other question?
I just had one request for them to do a reminder of when the support group is.
Thank you. The support group meets the 3rd Thursday of every month, and it's from 10 to 12, and it's in the multipurpose room. If you have any questions, go to the lifestyles, go to the article about the caregiver support group. My phone number is there. Doug's phone number is there. Ann's phone number is there. Call us anytime. We are very happy to answer any of your questions.
Yeah. We want you to know that you're not alone. Back here, she has one question. You're not alone. You have the support group here. You can call our office as well. You can call the 24/7 helpline. You can go on the website, alz.org. So you have multiple ways of reaching and getting that information. Yes, ma'am?
I have a friend. I have a friend. His wife will not go to the doctor. She does have dementia, according to the factors that you mentioned. What can he do?
Well, again, workarounds we're looking at. Something I tried that I know worked was because once they have the diagnosis and the disease and they're aware of it, and every time they go to the doctor will say, oh, okay, well, you can't do that anymore. Well, you can't do that anymore. And it's just one loss after another for the people with disease. So what I would do is if I notice something different, I had the conversation with the doctor about the trajectory of the disease and does all of this need to be brought up every single time. Again, your doctor will share with you whether it does or doesn't. And what I would do is I would say to my mom, sit here, and then I would go up to the counter, I'm gonna check us in, just sit right here. And I would ask them, I would put any of the questions that I had to, there were issues that she was experiencing. I would say, please put this in the chart so the doctor can address some of these, but address them in a way that doesn't point out an issue for her. And you can use therapeutic fibbing for the doctor's appointment. You can say you have to go in for vitamin B12, testing.
When he makes an appointment for her, she cancels it. He cannot get it.
Well, if he's putting it, if he's making the appointment and he's putting it on the calendar, that may be her trigger. Pardon?
She still cancels it.
Well, how does she know then that he made the appointment? Well, okay, that's what I mean. Then don't put it on the calendar.
But she won't go in.
Ma'am, please use the microphone. Ma'am, please use the microphone.
It is in communication, how he communicates with her, using that therapeutic fibbing, finding a way to get there, giving a reward after. I used to use, what was that one called? Steak and Shake. Her most favorite was side-by-side chocolate and strawberry. And I would say, after we get through this, we're heading to Steak and Shake. And it made things so much easier for her because that's the only thing she could remember was Steak and Shake. And but I'm telling you, 80% of managing this disease is how we communicate. We communicate with logic and reason. Logic and reason have left the building for these folks. So you're trying to put a square peg in a circle hole, and it's not going to work. So you need to meet them where they are, use that therapeutic fibbing, and move them towards, and you know what, it's not gonna happen in a day. So you just have to keep moving it around a little bit, and maybe it's if you do it, he won't do it, but maybe if her girlfriend takes her, she might.
I can say honestly no to that too.
Oh.
We are friends, and we talk about going to the doctor just for a regular
checkup.
routine or checkup. She won't go.
Well, she's afraid. She's afraid to go. Most people with disease do not want to go to the doctor. I would say 90% of them do not. After they get into that middle stage of disease, they don't want to go. And again, those are having those conversations with your doctor, finding other ways to get her in, and what he needs, and can we get it done quick and out.
Does somebody have a question on this side? Oh, just a minute. Before we ask any more questions, please don't ask personal questions. You can talk to her afterwards, but this is just information. So if you have a personal question, you can talk to her afterwards.
Okay. There's one more question here.
I was just going to say that appointment buddies for appointments where the doctor's office has to check with two people. So that one person alone can't cancel the appointment.
Good workaround.
Thank you.
Is it not a good idea to offer to help them? Like, we have a friend that she loses all kinds of paperwork and stuff, and I have offered to help her go through the paperwork to find her checkbook register, and she says, oh no.
For our folks with this disease that are struggling with paper, managing their banking is challenging and dangerous because it's easy for them to get into trouble. Somebody can make a phone call, tell them we've had that problem where they've called, said, you know, somebody, your cousin somewhere else needed money and we need 10 $50 Target cards. And you need to scratch off the back and give us the number, and they do it. And we had a gentleman here in the desert who bought a boat with his Black American Express card, a boat. So they do things that would not, if they weren't sick, they would never do these things. So they are vulnerable in that respect, and that's where you get a family member or someone on their account to make sure that these charges that are going through are valid, because a lot of times you can't, you know, once you scratch it off and give them that number, it's over.
I just wanted to say one thing. My husband died of dementia, and I went through all the stages. And we moved here in 21, and I was like 40 pounds heavier. I was really depressed all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally got talked in to go to Diane's group, and it saved my life.
Yeah.
One of the great things is, you know, you go through a lot of feelings when you are a caregiver about everything from anger to sadness. And when you go to the group, you can actually say what's on your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody's judging you.
Right.
And that's really important, because you're judging yourself every single minute. Am I doing the right thing? Should I have done that? Should I have brought him home for Christmas? My husband ended up in a facility for dementia patients, and I lost 40 pounds. I mean, it just changes your life, what you go through. So she was a miracle worker for me, and I recommend it very highly.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's a, yes. Diane does an amazing job. Resentment is also an emotion that a lot of folks hold on to, and then that makes you feel so guilty. I think that's one of the hardest ones. But again, talking to someone in a group, you can share, you know, how you really feel, and no one's going to judge you because they've been in those shoes. They know. And if they haven't been in those shoes, they're going to be looking for those triggers that might be coming their way.
My question is Alzheimer's a real disease that kills people, or Alzheimer's creates diseases that kills people because they forget to eat, they forget to, they harm themselves, or things like that?
Alzheimer's is a disease, and it goes into the brain, and it basically, I don't know if you saw that slide, it kills our neurons. Our neurons are what makes us who we are and what we do. And so it goes in and eradicates those neurons. And as we progress through the disease, there's more damage to the brain, to the point where the person has difficulty talking, swallowing, and it eventually will take the loved one.
Because most of the people that I've seen with that disease, they don't seem to be in pain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Because I agree with you, because we see that often where they lack the pain, but they may have pain but not able to feel the pain. Does that make sense? Because the brain receptors for pain have been changed, have been compromised.
Okay, a quick question regarding this lady's question about the paperwork and checkbook.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be considered in the second stage issue?
It can come in towards the end of the first stage of disease is where we often see it.
Okay.
And it really gets bad towards the middle stage of the disease. And that's why you get the handle of it in the beginning. And, you know, you can simply tell your loved one that there's all these scams going on targeting seniors. It's terrible. You know, we had friends who did this, friends who did that. You know what we're going to do is we're going to have a double, I'm going to be on yours and you're going to watch mine. When in fact, they're not watching yours, but you're watching theirs, what they're spending and how they're spending. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Any other questions? Nope. Well, I'd like to thank Kimberly and also Guillermo. Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation, something that we all need to, and I remember Guillermo said, it is your diet, what you put in your body. So you junk in, junk out, that's right. So you both were on the same page there. So I want to thank everybody for attending, and I hope you enjoyed this program. Thank you.